There we go. I can't hear you. I can't hear you people. You're muted.
There we go.
We had technical difficulties. Sorry you had to wait.
Okay.
There we are. Okay, so let's
Hi.
let's have a roll call. Sheila Ander, Chair of the committee.
Mike Corsi, Vice Chair.
Gina DeVivo Brassoff. Ellie Basti. And Pietro.
Yeah.
Paul Stern, spelled with no A.
That's what I. yeah.
Kathy, Katie Fatoni.
And Dorothy, our
Yeah.
very devoted recorder.
Thank you, Dorothy.
Yes.
Thank you, Dorothy.
We are very
Okay.
thankful for your typing. Yes, because it is the hardest job.
Okay, so the minutes from the meeting of 28th. Were there any additions or corrections? The motion to approve,
I move it.
all moves.
Second.
Okay, Michael seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, opposed? Great, and then the, I would assume that includes the letter that we sent. Can I just ask, this was in the packet, this was I'd asked, we didn't send it like this, did we?
No,
Okay,
That's how it got to the planning and zoning.
did?
committee. Oh, yeah. Look in their agendas.
oh
so,
boy,
I thought I had well, that's okay.
'Cause
And
I
it's legible.
I couldn't get rid of that, and I asked,
I'll change, oh, you, okay,
Sure.
and you asked.
Meeting?
did you
I asked
me?
that
No,
that we
it's
put it
It was
into
on the last
whatever the
Monday's meeting.
format should be.
Oh, you asked me, okay.
I don't know who I asked, you or Dorothy, I don't know. I
What,
just-
yeah, okay, that's on me, but they got it, they read it, and they were, yes, so
Okay,
apologies for
that's
that.
all right. Did they have any comment?
They wanted you to, they wanted you to come,
Okay.
to the meeting at some point and give a presentation and discuss. And just discuss what's, kind of the state of affordable housing and your concerns and, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that'd be
well, we
fun.
can,
So
I'm sorry, go ahead, Julie.
does it make sense to go to them with a plan? Like, I think that was where our struggle was, like kind of defining how to change it, right? Because it was the fee in lieu of structure, but we weren't too sure actually how to change it. So should we have that in place before we go?
I think, well, so there's a couple things, like, I think we're gonna all really learn a lot about, all of this as we go through these two big developments. And then you're gonna have a third also. So I think they're gonna wanna kind of see how this plays out, that both of these two large applications are doing 15% on-site. I said, they asked me, what does the town and the commission feel about fee in lieu? And I said, the Affordable Housing Committee and Planning and Zoning have made it very clear that they want to see these on site. They understand how difficult it is to build affordable housing, and so they're putting them on site.
Yeah,
So,
I'm sorry. go ahead.
and then I think it's going to be, there will be some situations, and you're going to see one that's coming up where maybe it makes sense. So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. And I don't know that the regs are going to go into effect in time. I mean, you've already got the two with the 15% in this one zone, in the PB4 zone. Maybe it's makes sense not to just do a fee in lieu, but to kind of, I think the developer's going to have, based on what I'm hearing, and I just pass along what I'm hearing, and I tell them that I do not make the rules, but I will convey the information regarding what I have heard. And I think if they want the Planning and Zoning Commission to approve a special permit application where they have discretion, and the regulations say on a case-by-case basis, we will permit this fee in lieu or allow you for these alternate means. I think you better think about sweetening, not just coming forward with just a fee in lieu.
And the other problem is that the fee in lieu itself is too low.
Yeah.
Exactly. And that's why it's so that's, I mean, we could talk about, just raising that percentage rate.
Yeah, I think
Or the
that's
formula
why,
is like inscrutable.
yes, and I think that's why in the letter we gonna put it on zoning,
Well-
to think that out a little bit.
And I
more,
think
but
they
that you
are
feel
thinking,
that-
but it's, but
But it'd be
I
better
guess-
for us to come with.
Yes.
like,
well, no, I don't know. Well, you can. Zoning regulations are not for the faint of heart. So you really need a lawyer and planning and zoning.
No, we don't. I think what we have to say to them, the fee is too low.
Yes,
And then
exactly.
you have to, because it's complex, you have to figure out.
Yeah.
Right.
And it needs to be raised. If we're going to give exceptions, then it can't be, getting away with murder, basically.
Yep.
And so I think we should go sooner than later. And I think if we also have some priorities to present, then we're saying, this is what we think is very important.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, can I just ask one question? We approved the minutes from 3/28, so we haven't gotten to March 2. Is
and
that?
we're
correct?
Yeah,
kind of going,
Oh,
we're going
yeah,
off, we're going off
yeah.
agenda.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, no, that's okay. I just want to make sure. I
Yeah.
understand.
Oh,
Okay,
February, that was April 20th, right?
yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't even realize there was another. I thought we were just
Yeah,
looking
I
at,
didn't see the,
thought we were looking at
A and B.
the letter.
Yeah.
oh, because it's on top of the letter.
No, it's okay. I
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I didn't miss it. That's all. Sorry about
I
that.
No,
missed
it's-
it.
it's-
That was-
All right, I have a correction for those minutes.
Okay, so,
So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off.
no.
Letter.
did you print the minutes?
Nah,
Are
because.
these the minutes of April 20, I'm now. talking-
Yes, right,
I just would like to have my name spelled correctly.
That's it?
That's all.
SPERN.
STERN, no A.
Oh, I was like, there's no A involved.
Yeah.
So
That'll be full.
if I just in as a point of, as we're communicating, Dorothy's better about like for this stuff, if you want it corrected and sent, if you could send that to Dorothy, if that's okay, Dorothy,
Okay.
just because I literally am getting like 500 emails.
Okay.
Yeah. we can
I wasn't gonna
it
send
to
it to you, I just,
Yeah, no,
it's not that important to me, actually.
this, but the.
Oh, that, I have a copy of that I can,
Well,
to
just.
Dorothy.
Well, we don't need to do it now because it's already gone out, but if in the future, if you want, like, because I feel badly that I didn't catch that, because I'm sure, I bet you Dorothy would have caught it, and I didn't, so apologies for that.
Okay, I'll make sure that.
Yeah, because
I'm
yeah,
pretty sure that, but all right.
we probably did say do that, Jennifer, but
Well, I don't know who I said. it to.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so is there a motion to approve the April 20th minutes, which I didn't move,
Yes, I move it as
as corrected?
corrected.
Okay, second? Second, Michael seconded. Any other comments, all in favor?
Okay.
Aye, okay.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. So, all right, and the minutes should reflect that we basically think, right, that the fee in lieu of is too low. And we'll recommend to the Planning and Zoning Commission that it be raised.
Yes.
And that the formula, that there'll be some rationale to the formula, other than the one that's in the code now, which I don't understand at all, actually. And if we could, maybe if we could understand that formula and why it's built the way it is, we could then understand what we got to do.
I will go ahead and send you, because I'm working, well, the way to figure out the formula, you go and the only way I can figure it out is if I drill down into that development impact statement and they show me how they figure that out. So it's basically, depending on the zone, 4%, like for say
3 or 4.
3 or 4%. Like, so 4% times 100,000 square feet, what I'm making up a number.
Yeah.
And then you have to go to the International Building Code and they give you, there's different building types. And that's how our building department determines what you pay for a building fee. And then you take that building type, which will give you the building types, the square foot, the cost per square footage of that building type. And you put it and you do the math that way.
Right, my problem, I did not understand that to that degree, but my problem is, why are we picking the cost of building as the measurement for what what the landlord should be
Instead of
paying over a
replacement.
40-year deed restricted loss of
And
revenue.
it's
Yeah.
See, I think it's the
6%.
revenue that the landlord is gonna sacrifice. That
Right.
should be the
the
standard for
driver.
how we gauge this, not how much it costs them to put a building on the ground, which is gonna be there forever, you know?
Yeah, and I
So
think,
that the
right, and I think,
philosophy behind it is what I'm challenging.
yeah,
Right, and there's some percentage of that that's fixed.
right, and I think,
Like,
you know, I think they
why
were
is it
trying
at
to come up with
4%?
something and tie it to some sort of rational thing.
And some numbers.
And something that changes annually because those tables get updated every year
Right.
to reflect the cost of the building.
Well,
So,
or yes, I think one could also think about it in terms of if they don't build these units, what would be the cost of building them?
Right, yeah.
And,
If they're gonna pay for someone else to build them, for instance.
yes, and so what, and so some relationship to that.
I think that's how I've always understood what the fee in lieu was, that they're putting in the amount that it would cost them to, and loss of income on those specific units. And that's why it would be on the total, we'd get the money, the percentage from the total cost that it costs them to build the whole development. We
Yeah.
get a lot more money that way
Yeah.
than on income.
no, but you get 4%. What Katie's right. You get 4%. So say it's 100,000 square foot total development. And I just looked at one today. It's $227 per square foot in this particular building type. So I don't know,
Would
I'm on
be
my
the
calculator, and then you take
construction
4% of
cost.
that. Now, if the required set aside is 10% or 15% of the units, I'm wondering where the 4% came
Right,
from,
right.
but I'm not sure. So that's,
Well, it almost
I-
sounds like an arbitrary,
I don't
No,
think
but
it's
if
ar-
they
I don't
give
think
us
it's
the
arbitrary. I think,
construction
I
cost,
think you have to like,
then we
you
theoretically can take that and build our own.
you have to thread the needle.
Theoretically.
Except, yeah, their construction cost as one unit of 100 is completely different from what ours would be
Right,
from
right.
scratch
Right.
without an
Right,
organization to
right.
build.
well, but I think
thing.
the
And the
simplest
timeline is also. different,
method might be to raise that percentage,
Yeah, that's what, one of the things, it would be a quick fix.
Right.
right?
But it might not be, I don't know. I don't know if I would be philosophically satisfied to know that we're not looking at if I were the builder, I would look at the revenue I'm gonna get from this project. Can I pay my mortgage? Can I, all these units are gonna feed me money again. And which is cheaper for me to build, give them a few pennies that it cost me to build one unit, or pay for absorb the loss of revenue on a unit for the 40-year, 20% of its revenue for deed restriction. And I'm gonna pick the giving the money every time because the cost of just giving away 20% of your rent for 40 years is very high. Because that's how I would look at it. If I were for my building, I would say, no problem.
It might be challengeable because you can't really project over 40 years what they get. You can only do it based upon what the current rent is.
Right, that's true, but it's still.
So you have to be,
It
yeah, so I think this for, like, getting back to what this committee, what would be in your scope would be that you want to see the fee in lieu to be higher. If someone is able to exercise that, it should be higher. You want to know the philosophy behind by which that is calculated. And then it's up to the Planning and Zoning Commission to see, does it meet the overall needs of the community? It's a reg change, so it has to be consistent with the plan of
Yeah, that's
conservation
right.
development, and it has to be legally sound and, all of those things.
Yeah.
So, but you guys are the ones, I think, that can say those.
Well, we
things.
can provide some motivation to dig into it more professionally and deeper, and maybe with, there's no reason, there's other municipalities around the country who are doing this, I'm sure, although not very many based on Mike's research. So there's got to be other methodology.
Most
in-
people are trying to, they are trying to oppose this with every.
Right.
Yeah,
And we're in a unique town that is really supportive of this.
So you said they had an open,
Yeah,
they have an open agenda.
So they have an agenda on they were gonna cancel, I'm gonna be on vacation on the 15th. We don't have any business, so I was gonna cancel their meeting. However, if it's a presentation of the Affordable Housing Committee and you don't need a staff report done, you can do it. I just won't be there.
A presentation and a discussion.
A presentation and a discussion,
I'm
yeah,
happy to do,
May 15th,
May 15th.
I'll be traveling.
And will Sarah be too? Yeah. So Sarah's on the commission.
So I'm gone from. the
but I'd
12th
rather do
to
this
the
sooner than later
27th.
because it's,
I'm
with
gone
all
for
this stuff
the
coming in.
second half.
I'm fine
I
with
guess.
that.
Okay.
If we need a presentation made up, I'm good for that.
Yeah, I'm here. Paul.
I don't think the whole
I-
commission needs to
looks
be
like my
there.
calendar.
Yeah, I was thinking like if we could have the few bullets that we want, like what we were just discussing, to make sure those get across, then I probably just having one or two people would make more sense. Right?
Yeah, I can do some research to see if there's anyone who does it like,
I had
who
dug
does
up
the
an
deed restriction in
article.
a different way other than the fee and lieu. I
I
haven't
had
heard.
dug up an article. dude.
This
I
is-
just
Yeah, you
finished
showed it to me, and I read it.
I
It was like
read
from
it a
some other
long
state
time
somewhere.
ago.
Well, we could, we don't have to tell them, I think we have to tell them why we think it should be raised
Right,
significantly.
Right, we need to funnel more money into the housing
Yeah.
trust fund.
And, but why it's,
Did
go ahead.
anyone attend the CCAPA? We're kind of going off road with the agenda.
Yeah.
I started, but then I.
Well, we're going actually based upon Paul's, that
Uh,
was in the minutes, the recommendation that we sent to.
Oh,
Paul.
yeah, okay. So
Okay,
the Affordable Housing Committee, the Affordable Housing meeting, that it was an online webinar. There's actually a recording of that. So I had
Oh,
sent it
really?
out, remember? I believe
Yeah.
that.
I didn't see the recording.
Is it not?
I obviously didn't see.
Oh, they did a recording.
It was recorded. I don't know if,
Come on.
Because I went to two different things just recently.
did you go to the one that, where are we, like Affordable Housing, where are we now?
Oh, yes, yes.
Did you went to that?
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Who was offering it again?
The Connecticut,
Congress municipalities, no?
no, the Connecticut chapter of the American Planning
Oh,
Association.
okay,
They were quite intense,
Those,
the speakers.
it was
I,
quick.
something happened on my computer, so I had to. I had to leave the meeting, but the first speaker was very intense and.
so I wouldn't mind getting that recording.
I wouldn't either, just.
Now that I
Oh,
have my middle initial, but
So he referenced this working group, right?
Yes,
And I got their report, but I haven't looked at it yet.
so let me just ask, May 15th at what time?
6 p.m.
And it's all virtual, is that right?
No,
They're hybrid, right?
they're hybrid.
Oh, they're hybrid now, okay. And where do they meet, in the council?
Council chamber, yeah.
Okay,
I'd like to be there in person, I think, for that.
yes.
I think it would be
yes.
best. I think that's always a good way to.
It's much easier to communicate that way.
Well, my suggestion, because the only way we can go back and forth about what we present is that we have to set up a kind of a working meeting, even if we just do it by Zoom. Before that,
To kind of develop, get our own little act together.
right, exactly. So,
I have my calendar up, so I'll get the date
Okay.
right this time.
so let's. Oh, yeah, I have to tell you about this EO Smith forum. It's very sweet. I mean, it's really. I'm gonna go speak about, or be one of their resource people in affordable housing. It's
Yeah,
nice.
it's proof that Smith, that they're really, the students are
So do we-
quite
Do we want to
impressive.
do next Thursday then, the 11th?
Let's see.
We only have
Past
one.
graduation, I'm.
What are we doing? A special meeting to get ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Well, I'm
can't
talking
do
about
it,
UConn graduation, which slams the B and B business.
oh,
It
you,
really is graduating.
you can't do the 11th?
Yes, I can. Graduation is this weekend and by Wednesday, I will have come out of my semi-coma and I can be functional again.
Okay. So do you want to do that at 5 again? Is that Zoom meeting?
That's good.
I'm leaving the next day, so I'm guessing the 11th isn't gonna be good, but if you need someone for
10th?
4, I can. I
Well,
don't
we-
wanna
we
mess
can
you
have a
up.
discussion without it. I think we don't have to have a quorum to have a discussion.
No,
So
we
we're
don't.
not
That's fine. Yeah.
So,
I'm just trying to put together a
Katie, does
cohesive
that
way.
work for you?
Well, Katie will, to do the,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can be there. I can't be there in person. I have to be there by Zoom.
Now,
Yeah,
well, this can be a Zoom meeting.
we'll do it by all by Zoom.
Yeah, I can try to zoom in.
Katie's gonna make a presentation to herself.
Oh, is there a way that I could set the Zoom up so we don't have to bother Dorothy or anybody else? I mean, I don't wanna.
It has to be, if it's a Zoom meeting, it has to be on the town.
Must be the town's.
Has to be the town hall.
But
So what is?
do I have to come here to do it?
Nope, it
Oh,
would just be
okay.
like an old fashioned virtual meeting. So,
Okay, all right.
what time?
5 o'clock
On May 11th,
on May 11th.
writing in big letters right here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are you, do you work till, because all you have to do is set it up and then make her a co-host. And then
And I just need a pass. I just need to put.
like we set the whole
Blank.
thing in and then turn the,
Do you know how to do Zoom?
Oh, yeah, I do it all the time. I
Okay.
just do it off my own account, but
You'll just be using their account and it'll be all the same.
so I'll just go into it and put probably the passcode in and.
Yep.
Well,
Dorothy.
no, I would set it up and then,
You just click on it, it should open right up.
she
right?
sets it up. Dorothy's there for the first like 3 minutes. Then then she turns it over to you to
As
be
a
the-
co-host.
as the
oh yeah, I
co-host.
don't know how to do that, but I
It's-
can try.
It's easy. You
Okay.
can, IT will be able to help you with that. It's,
we can probably show you right
Yeah.
tonight.
You could do it right on this, yeah. All right, so
Everybody got them.
if there's a problem, I will immediately send you another Zoom link, but I don't know.
it shouldn't,
Okay. I mean, I've done that before. I've done it before, Dorothy, so,
It's not a big deal. I mean,
Somebody
it's-
can
don't
just
worry about
show
it.
you.
We'll just,
okay.
it's not a problem.
And in the meantime, so, all right, so let's go back to the agenda, because I think, and there's another issue we have to really discuss. And
So
stuff.
that's gonna be a subcommittee.
it's,
Or
or
that-
not a sub, we're not,
Just a
we don't-
working.
yeah, we don't call them subcommittees because the clerk is like, it's a whole new, I learned this, it's like a whole new thing. So, it's a special meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so do we have any opportunities for any public comment? We
I
don't
did
have
not
any
receive
public
any.
here.
No,
Okay, so the new business is deferred to June 1st. Do you want to talk about that? Jennifer?
Yes, so I'm gonna be sending out, you got. Every committee gets this kind of generic referral that I sent to you and so in the future, when you get them, it's like the following application has been referred to you. And then there's a hyperlink to every single thing you'd want to know about their stormwater management and all of that. So what I've done, I will be sending you their architectural plans, which kind of outlines where, because the regulations say you can't put like the affordable housing in the basement, for example. It has to be,
That's one of my questions.
yeah. So, where the affordable housing will be, and then also there's like an appendix usually of their development impact statements that goes over their affordable housing plan. So I'm going to send those out to you in a separate email, and I'm going to send it out next week is when I get back into the office so that you have time to look at it. Then what's going to happen is the applicant's team is going to come in and they're going to present to you their affordable housing plan. They're going to say, these are your regulations. This is how we met them. And they're going to walk. So it's a really good, I think it's going to be a good learning opportunity for this committee. But before that happens, and the reason why they're not here tonight is that the applicants pay for a peer review consultant to come in and that reports to the Planning and Zoning Commission to actually look at the whole plan to make sure if they're telling us they're meeting the regulations, our peer reviewer says yes or no, or you might need to tweak that a little bit before it all goes out to the public hearing. So they will have had the opportunity to have received the peer reviewers' comments
Before.
and modify or not modify their plan. And then they will come to you and we're not going to have the peer review consultant come because it's a lot of money. But I'll have them review with you the concerns that the peer review had and then how they address them or chose not to. So
just to note, one of the things I was going to ask them, it's not required now, but it's something that continues to concern me when these are, first of all, how these units will be rented and what the relationship should be. I talked a little bit with Rebecca Fields at the Housing Authority, we were talking, but about what the relationship should be to the Mansfield Housing Authority, which has some waiting lists, which might be relevant to occupancy of these units, particularly the Section 8 and maybe Palenco Estates waiting list, because some of their other waiting lists are for people lower income who can't afford these. And secondly, I understand that there's a whole, that they're required to authenticate, they're required each year to authenticate the income of the people in the units. But this isn't their primary concern at all.
Right,
This
so I
is a
think
secondary concern.
I'm happy to pass that along to them right now so that they're prepared to answer that question. And so if you, would you want to just type that up in an email and send that to me? And I
Yeah,
can
but
say,
I
this
think
is-
it's something we need to
I think
discuss.
I think you should process it as a
P&Z.
committee.
Isn't it, yeah, isn't it spelled out in their application, how
Yes.
they're gonna authenticate and do all that?
Yeah,
stuff?
and then they have to submit a fair.
But I
housing plan.
think if we can, we should ask them to put our priorities into their screening.
Yeah,
process.
Sure, and
So they talk about Enrata or something, screening process, that's a software.
yeah,
So if you look at that software, I just did a quick Google.
Hmm.
And it says that you can customize it. Fine, customize it for us. And have them put it right in there that says, they're gonna put our priorities into their screening process. As part of the contract,
All we have to do is figure out our priorities.
Well, we gotta,
Priority,
Oh, okay.
because
we have to decide whether we,
yeah.
that's what we're gonna do Tuesday.
but that, I thought it was a really nice application.
which
mean,
one, the
At.
Villages.
The villages.
the villages?
Yeah, the one we're supposed to see tonight. I thought it was a nice application. They seem to be. They're pretty serious about things, but when it comes to affordable housing, they have a management plan, but it's all just, to
So-
do it efficiently. That's their goal.
Yes.
And, they got software in place to screen, they got management people, and then that's fine. But
So the other piece of it, in terms of the housing authority, and again, I'm talking, Rick and I talked about this a little bit, is that there should be a fee per unit that the developer pays each year to the housing authority to authenticate how they have.
So that's
cooperated.
not,
Not in there.
that's not in our zoning regulations.
that, I
So,
know.
yeah, so that's a fee that would, so we've kind of struggled with. Kylie did some research on that, like who has a fee and because any kind of thing that you're talking about with fees has to go to the council. They're the ones who have to adopt a fee ordinance that would authorize us to collect that money.
Yeah,
So,
and they could do it without this being in the zoning regs. They can say that.
yeah, it's already in the zoning regulations. The council needs to decide. But we don't have a model and a
So you're
statutory.
gonna say to everyone who has affordable housing unit that there's a fee per unit each year?
Well, for example, I think in cities that have housing code enforcement, the landlord pays
Yeah,
a certain fee.
which all landlords already do that here, right? As part of the year, like, they pay a fee to the town.
But that's not for this.
That's for inspection.
That's for inspections.
Right, so this would be, it could be a modest fee. So let's say if you have 15 units of affordable housing, you pay, I'm just saying $200 a unit. I'm just trying to think the number of, by the time we're done with this, the number of units we're gonna have and what would allow the housing authority to actually, have an oversight person.
So this is basically the fund administrator
That's right,
to keep things moving smoothly
On the up and up,
and appropriately.
and on the up and up.
Right.
Assuming we wanted to come out of the Mansfield Housing Authority.
Well,
too,
that's
as
another
opposed
question.
to-
That Mansfield Housing Authority,
Is
what,
not-
is that a creature of local government?
That's a quasi-governmental agency.
So
Yes,
that
it
would
is.
qualify as one we could work with and not have
Yes.
to be
It's
worried about.
it's something that is set up as a,
But it's not a
basically,
town. It's not
it's a
like
public
town, but it's not a
corporation.
town of Mansfield.
No, it isn't.
So
And they're not a
that's-
501c3, they're like a 501c,
I guess
the nonprofit housing authority, the development corporation is a 501c3,
Yeah,
but the other one is like,
Well, they were set up, it's by state statute
yeah,
as a, basically as a public corporation that was established has to be established by the governing authority of the town.
So in effect,
As I
we
read the
fund
original
their,
statute.
them being the administrator, or the pathway into all of our affordable housing units, whether they were at Eagleville Green or the Havens or some other new place, right? They would be like a clearinghouse, if you will.
Well, the Eagleville Green isn't even a set aside. This is,
No,
we're
that's
talking
true.
about
So
private
you're talking about
development.
set
The
aside,
set aside.
managing
units.
set asides. Well,
Managing set aside.
Yeah,
Yeah.
my
Of course,
brain
they
just
already
goes
have-
to, it's like, hey, we really want you to do this. And we're gonna, we want to encourage you to do it, and we're gonna, but there's gonna be some fees that you have to pay
Well,
on top of it, and,
well, we're
right,
gonna,
like, it's.
the Havens is in theory already gonna be marketing to, what do they call it, the least likely,
They have to, that's part of their fair housing marketing plan,
right,
is that they have to market to those least likely to apply, and they have to say where they're gonna post the information.
and somebody has
So-
to monitor that, right?
Right,
They are right
and
now.
so right now, if we find out that they're not doing that, then we can issue them a zoning
Yeah.
violation. That's a lot of work. We don't, like, we're not, that means we're going,
Right.
we have to go out and look for problems, and
Right.
that's generally not how
That's
zoning
why this
works.
fee is a good thing, because we gather up a bunch of money, we put it in an office somewhere where there's someone devoted to looking out after the town's affordable housing
Right.
in all of its iterations, and they keep
I
track
don't know
of
if we'll
stuff.
get enough for all considerations,
Well-
but we at least to oversee the set aside units.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, the set aside units, the ones where the planning department doesn't want to be spending time over at the Havens, and,
You don't want the planning department doing
right,
this work.
so you have to have
Yeah.
some entity that's
Yeah, I mean,
gonna
unless,
take
yeah,
responsibility to monitor, and that's what we're gonna fund.
Well,
or
so
find
even
out.
that's what housing, and again, I can't speak for Rebecca, but she was interested in talking further. The Mansfield Housing Authority could look at their plan based upon what they've submitted. And report to the town if they see problems.
Yeah, but it's gotta be an ongoing annual.
But she can't do
review.
that. No,
No.
I mean, they-
Staff.
that what they could. Yeah, so the thing is what is the fee? What's the enabling legislation for that fees? Because so that's what Kylie had kind of looked into, and we didn't come up with anything. And then I talked with our zoning consultants, and they said, well, I mean, we can definitely do, if someone wants to look into that fee, like, it's an administrative fee, it's in the zoning regulations. But we need to figure out how we enact that ordinance. What is that ordinance gonna say? Yeah.
well, that's why we
It's
have attorneys. I
operationalized.
mean, I think could be pretty simple. It could be just a straightforward annual amount that you.
Or it's an
I-
per application,
What?
per application, like.
Well, if you pay it annually based upon the number of affordable units that you have. And this, we're talking, I think the fee is gonna be very small compared to whatever the annual profits are. These are.
Yeah, that's not a problem, them running out of money, the question of us getting enough that we can adequately execute or administer all these things, and,
Yeah, I'm just not a favor of it.
Yeah, most places,
Intellectually, like,
Why?
I'm
Why?
against it. I don't think it helps promote enhancing, ensuring that I just don't know if it'll meet our objective, for one. Two, I don't agree with giving, if the town collects like fees and then gives it to a quasi-governmental organization that the town doesn't, right? So I also have problems with that, but I just conceptually, unless it's doing something to help, like, why don't you just charge a fee for all the units and make sure, right? Like, it's just like, you're basically charging a
So-
fee for people to have a unit, and it's something we want them to do, and we're gonna
And they're
charge them
in-
yearly.
Required, it's not once, see that, let me just rephrase it. These are private developers who want to build housing that is going to be highly profitable for them, so that's good, it's going to be highly profitable. The town is saying to them, 15% of the units that you're going to develop will be affordable housing. And some of it workforce, I don't even know whether we deal with the workforce. And so in order for you then to proceed, we have to have some oversight of how you're going to be renting to assure that these are affordable and that you are, properly re-authenticating people's income at the, each year. The fee they pay is gonna be modest in comparison to whatever their overall operating costs. I don't think it's gonna matter to them that much. And the Mansfield Housing Authority is basically the town's arm to provide housing. Because the town, as far as I know, can't on its own build a, like the council says, we're gonna oversee affordable, we're gonna oversee a project for people who are over 55 directly.
They don't have any
So in the
There's
app,
no-
capacity to do that.
Well,
So in
not
the-
just even capacity. I don't think that it,
Agency,
there's no,
organization.
I think the state created housing authorities so that towns would have an arm to execute and carry out housing for low income and predominantly low income and elderly people.
Let me understand your objection. Is it that you don't want just the people who are building the housing to carry the weight of the cost of
Yeah.
administering these things? You think, I mean, I understand if affordable housing is good for the whole town, maybe the whole town ought to carry the expense of creating a system and making sure that it works by monitoring it and paying to have it monitored. I
That'd be
can
fine with
understand
me
that,
too.
I understand that rationale, and I tend to agree with you. Whether other people are going to or not, but this is an argument I made before when I was talking about the fees in lieu. We're putting it on the developers to do something that's going to benefit everyone, so.
I guess,
So what
you know,
happens if you don't monitor?
So we-
What are the,
yeah,
what
I
are the
like-
dangers?
probably-
I mean, we don't
Take it-
charge
Why
a
don't
fee for
tenants aren't
everything that the
affordable?
town sets as a zoning standard. We don't say like, oh, you're only allowed 12 roosters, so we're now you're gonna have a fee if you have a rooster, and so that we can monitor you, right? Like,
No, what we do though, is if you file an application, there's a fee, right? So you want to build a shed, you have to pay a fee.
Yeah,
So, and if you do violate the zoning regulations, there's a mechanism for us to fine you.
so like that's, and so
And
there-
that's,
right,
yeah.
so there is a mechanism already in place that if
But-
someone isn't doing it, and we're not monitoring,
well, you
Like,
have to
you're basically-
discover if someone's violating the
Yeah, and-
Affordable Housing
and
Act.
so are
How
we-
are you gonna do that?
and I mean, how do you do it on
You wait for.
regular
complaints.
houses?
we enforce on a complaint basis.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yeah.
how we do everything. We're deciding right now that we're gonna do it differently for affordable housing.
No, not
That's-
affordable housing. We're talking about private developers who are building highly profitable developments. That's why we've
Well,
got.
but it's
Yeah, but there's-
affordable.
Well, you.
It's only, and
It's
they,
for their
and we're
affordable units.
no,
though,
we're
so it doesn't-
requiring them to have set aside. It's not gonna, it wouldn't apply to a nonprofit that comes in and builds affordable housing.
No,
because,
see, that's not the point she's
You
making.
know,
I'm just making the point if
We're making
if
them
you're-
have affordable units. And we have to somehow make sure they stay affordable and that they don't just start putting any old tenant in there
Yeah.
and using up all the capacity on.
If we
Fair
think the
market.
town of Mansfield would pay for a half-time person at the Mansfield Housing Authority, that would be great, but they're not gonna do that. So there has, I don't think.
Well,
Maybe the
it's,
state-
and ultimately that's up to the town council to make that
I
decision,
know.
right? So you either can say, there's a lot of, here's the problem, we want to make sure that in fact, these affordable units are going to be rented to affordable
Right.
people who need affordable housing. Either you can hire someone and raise your taxes that way, or you can put it on the developer or the owner
the
of,
owner.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
a bunch of different ways to
It's
come.
just an
skin a
incidence of
cat.
taxation, if you will. You gotta figure out how you're gonna do it.
Mhm.
Whatever you can get past. the
And-
governing body.
And if we're gonna charge a fee, we have to figure out how to charge that fee and
Whether
what's,
it's fair and. all that.
well, and then what, do we have any enabling like, are we enabled to charge
Mm.
such a fee? And I bet you at some point, the legislature is gonna enable towns to charge such a fee if they have not, but I don't know if they have or not.
Well, the state is on this,
Well-
supposedly on this bender of funneling money toward.
So I
affordable
was gonna
housing.
put it on
Maybe there's a fund somewhere.
What?
the town attorney's agenda, just I'll
Okay,
chat with him.
Sure, because I think the precedent might be, and I'm not an attorney, the fee that landlords pay for housing inspection annually. And that might be, and I don't know,
I don't know.
But so the question for planning and zoning is, when we say to them, is we are concerned how the issue of to whom these units are going to be rented is monitored to assure that it is going to the people we
That
think it should go
stays, yeah.
to. And then secondly, how it's monitored to see when the income, each year to see, make sure the income limits. apply.
Well, you're gonna tell, you can say that you're interested in that, but you need to tell the county council that.
Yeah.
Not the planning and zoning
But
commission.
aren't there sort of two separate issues too? There's qualifying applicants for the units, which the housing people know how to do. They're experts in qualifying you to live in an affordable or a low cost
The
housing
authority,
authority.
yeah.
They have a system, they've been doing it for years. That worries me less than how to make sure that the landlords who are building all these set aside units are getting the right people in there as they're supposed to.
And then keeping,
And
right,
keeping
because
them there.
people's income levels.
Right, because some
change,
people move out,
move,
one affordable unit gets vacated and they put a fair market person in and they say, oh, we're gonna open this other unit here to affordable, but for now it's empty and it gets tricky.
Jennifer, so you're gonna talk to the town attorney and ask them if there's a precedent, so before we do this, and you said this wouldn't go to P and Z, it would go to town council?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that your regulations, I'd bring that to planning and zoning commission's attention. They probably know that
Okay.
there is, you have, the town can charge that, but the council is the one who needs to,
All right.
council is the
Well,
keeper of the
Jennifer's
money.
looking to-
Well, and we're talking about big units in concept right now,
Right.
but we have a large number of people who rent houses or smaller type units, right? Like the condos or the apartments, down near Yukon, right, where they're units and they have lots of people that potentially over time, once we have a structure in place, right, with the housing trust, they might want to do something and make some of those. And those are smaller units, and those landlords or homeowners or, landowners would be making a commitment to this. And so we don't want to deter those people or any of these middle housing type
Right,
things.
we don't have to incentivize these big developers because
Yeah.
they're smelling money all over the place, but the
Yeah.
little people,
Yeah,
it's
we
bigger
do
Well, there's
investment.
ways that you can write
Yeah.
it that a project, that
Right,
a
if-
project has to be over a certain
If
size.
you read,
Yeah.
they say clearly what they're gonna do here. It's an online system that screens the applicants.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
And we
checking
don't-
all the information about the
And-
applicants. I mean, it's
We
probably
don't know if
more.
it's good, bad, or
Tyler?
indifferent at this point.
Well,
And within the
my
town,
sense is that.
it's like a few different property, like companies, I don't know why I'm blanking on the word right now, that own a lot of the units. Like my current landlord, I know that he owns quite a few houses in the area, or at least like the company that he works for does, 'cause he's just a property manager, but I don't know
So,
if he's the owner.
Let me just back
There's
up
Few
here,
of those.
But-
because
but
all
wait,
of those ones don't count.
They don't, no, it's,
Because they've already, they're non, they don't have to comply with this affordable housing.
no.
Yeah.
Only
So
new
if they-
ones.
Yes, but if they choose to become.
So, but
Right.
Sheila's right, you could say,
Is that we would need to
owners
vote on,
of,
right?
owners of, over 50 units.
Right.
Need
Get
to
monitored.
pay an administrative fee, blah, blah. You can like,
Administrative fee for set
you can-
aside units.
you can
Yeah, yeah.
Scope it, curate it or whatever, yeah.
Yeah,
Cause that's
No,
where
that-
a
All
lot
right,
of
so
the.
let's move on. It's,
Yeah.
obviously, we gotta get more information.
Yeah.
Interesting, okay. So what I'm gonna try to do for that meeting on the 15th is write something up that then we can do anything we want with it.
And you're gonna discuss that on the 11th.
Okay, but this is gonna
On the
be,
11th, yes, 11th, and get it
So
to, get it to you in
Kylie,
advance.
I don't know what Kylie's schedule is, but would it be, might be efficient, would maybe Sheila and you could work together on
Well,
like getting a PowerPoint or?
Oh,
Yeah, that's what-
PowerPoint, that would be
yeah, that's what I
great.
was offering before with the
Yeah,
15th.
that's
I
what-
said that I
yeah.
can easily make up something.
Yeah,
like that.
I'll,
So I go through the,
I gotta do the outline.
Generate some bullet points.
I gotta do the outline, and you wanna do a PowerPoint, that would be.
oh yeah,
nothing like.
I mean, and it doesn't have to be fancy either. It's just their upcoming meeting, after May 15th. Katie, you guys are gonna be really, really busy after May 15th. You've got public hearings.
Yes, we will, because we've got a lot coming up in June.
Yeah,
I'd rather
That's
see this as an
complicated.
informal discussion with planning and zoning.
Jennifer, do we have to have those emailed to us? Can we post it to like our agenda packet,
say,
the
I already
information?
figured, was the-
You said
Oh,
you were gonna
okay.
email those to
Yeah.
us?
oh, I can post it to your agenda, but these applications that
Instead
are,
of like emailing them, is everyone else okay with that?
What was that? I'm sorry.
What is that?
it is, it's this, I just curated this for them. I made it smaller.
Is this
so
all
that-
right?
Yeah, that's like everything though. That's like the traffic study and the
Okay.
stormwater, like 1,200 page.
So I
report
just
that-
asked if we could add those to our packet so that we don't get them emailed.
What's those that you're referring to?
Oh, when she emails us.
We're going back to
proposals.
how we're gonna be reviewing the proposal. So I was just,
Oh.
I have just,
Well, those are part of the whole,
Yeah.
those are part of the whole application. They're already on the agenda. They're in the system already, actually.
you already have a link to them, but
Yeah.
so for the packet, I will just include the window down version.
You'll pull out
Yeah,
the
yeah.
affordable housing section.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay.
And unless you want them emailed, then you can email me directly and I will
Mm.
happily email them to you.
No,
Okay, so I'm moving on to the Housing Trust Fund application, which we're not gonna discuss. But because I have to ask you if you still want to have a working, I don't know how many meetings you want to have, so. We had originally, you said every 2 weeks, and now we're gonna have a working meeting on the 11th. Which should take us no more than an hour, I think, but
So then we'd be doing the
And we have a
11th,
15th.
18th, and the.
do we really want to do that? I mean, Kylie, I don't know, how available are you?
I
Kylie?
gotta stop the video for a second and go to the bathroom.
Oh,
Okay.
Too much information.
Kylie,
That's fair. Yeah, no, I
She's
am,
I'm here.
Okay.
after Monday,
Muted.
it's okay, I'm graduated. I have
okay.
an open schedule.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm not starting up at the office until 30th, so
Of
So you're a
May.
free agent for
I'm
3
a
weeks
free
or so?
agent for a few weeks.
So, because
You want me to mute?
what we decided, the three of
Yeah,
us
yeah.
were, the three of us who were here on May 2nd, Katie. What we decided, we wanted to use the Stanford Housing Trust Fund application.
Right.
Because it's outlined.
Yeah,
So we had already made some changes on the other one, and it's a question of just redoing. So I don't know, Callie, if you'd have time to look at what we did, the changes we made on the Fairfield prototype that we were using, that was in here, they're all in here. And then start applying that to using the Stanford as a, and then you and I can, it's okay if we go back and forth on that, right? Because Kylie's staff, is that right, Jennifer?
Yeah.
Okay,
so you'll bring something forward that we can all look at.
that's, oh, yeah,
that
yeah,
makes
so,
sense.
right. So if you could do that, but I'm just asking if you really want to have another meeting or not, and you want to wait till. It's up to you
I
guys, I'm happy
think
to.
we've all discussed our ideas. I think it's a good point for a small group to merge the documents and then get a draft to people that they
Yeah.
can interrogate.
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
we can
who's
put it
this?
on an agenda then, and then we can just
Right.
Yeah,
give
because
it
we
one
would do
last.
the
Oh,
11th
it's
and then.
Kylie and me. Okay,
So did we not want to meet the week of the 15th through the 19th, which would be our second meeting of the month?
yeah, well, we're meeting with planning and zoning. the
PCC, right?
15th,
That's a
so I
Monday,
think
right?
that's probably. It would have been the 18th, but I'm not, we
Yeah.
don't have to do that. But it's up to you, that's how you tell me what you want to do.
I'm away from the 12th through the 27th.
Okay, all right. I'm just deleting.
I'm not zooming in from California. No zooming from
So-
No
California.
time difference anyway.
So just to clarify, I need to cancel the 18th.
Is that what you're?
That's what I think we're saying, yes.
Yeah, okay, we'll cancel the 18th. We'll be meeting on the 15th and the 11th anyway, so.
Yes.
And then what meeting comes after the 18th,
The
June
1st.
1st?
June
And
1st.
that's the one where we can, in theory, have a polished or semi-polished housing application for us to.
But we're gonna have two presentations that night, the two
You
developers.
guys are gonna, that's gonna be your meeting.
Okay.
And
I
I'm-
think,
yeah.
yeah, if
I'm
you're trying
actually-
to
and I'm
keep it
not-
to an hour and a half.
I'm
then
not
that's-
here on June 1st, just so you know.
Two presentations, the villages and the other one,
Ah.
CMC or whatever. it
Yeah.
is. Okay.
So, okay, so let's go to staff updates and just a note, Jennifer, on that first one, I talked further with Rebecca and they're required by HUD to use the Greater Hartford because of Section 8. And but I still don't know if it's written in law or anything, so you wanted to talk about this.
And I did not have a chance to
Oh,
to
okay.
look into that.
Who you gonna talk to when you do it?
That's a good question. I was thinking of calling Mike Santoro in the Department of Housing.
It
Well,
seems
that's
like a good
good.
place to start.
Yeah,
I mean, why is Collin County in Hartford
yeah.
AMI? I don't understand that.
Well, Tolan County has its own AMI, which.
Well, except they're not in the HUD rules, and it doesn't
No.
exist on federal paper anywhere.
Right,
And if it doesn't, is there a way there could be?
Yeah.
I mean, Tolland's gonna want to do that too when the hammer comes down on them. I mean, we might not be the only town that doesn't like the fact that we're living with a measurement that's
higher.
based on Hartford and West Hartford. Or East
Yeah.
Hartford.
Yeah, because then like the other one that there is like Norwich area, which is far too low for this area, because this area has a lot of working professionals in it, especially with the university, but we don't have West Hartford money around here.
No.
So gets really interesting.
Yeah,
That's
so
what
anyway, the Department of Housing might have some insight on how this came to pass, why it's the way it is, and.
and do
whether
they
it can be
require
changed.
us to use it if we want to have grants going out?
Yeah.
I'm sure like the housing authority,
They have to,
I would
For
imagine.
HUD
Yeah.
requires them. I don't
So if there's
think
any HUD, so a private developer, we might be able to just say in our regulations, we're gonna tie this to Tallinn County
Right.
AMI.
Yeah,
We might.
if HUD doesn't have to get involved or whatever.
No, they wouldn't.
But then there's also gonna be potentially the question of state money flowing into Mansfield on account of their various affordable housing initiatives that we haven't really.
So but that would be
discovered yet.
different
Yeah.
for, like, because we're not regulating those through our affordable
No,
housing
that's true.
regulations. So
That's
we're
true.
just saying, if you are coming in, big developer, we're gonna make you, it's gonna be more restrictive
Yeah. Well,
than,
Well, I don't know if it's more restrictive. I wouldn't say restrictive. It reflects what our market is current locally.
Right. like it's gonna have lower rents. in
it will
theory,
reflect
because
the
our
Tallinn
is-
market.
On a related idea, you know, we have our affordable housing set aside is for, what is it, 80% and
AMI, yeah.
Up to 80%. But
is it out of,
but it's based on 80%.
is it out of the question that in our set aside formula or standard, that we have one unit that's a 30%er? That we have one place for really low income
You
people?
could do that.
And wouldn't that help meet the real need that we have, which is these low, really low cost burden people? I mean, a developer can afford one unit for some, poor family. Wouldn't kill them. And it's just, these standards we set are kind of arbitrary. We decide, we need,
You know what? We had to start somewhere, right?
yeah,
And we knew like zoning is a thing that can change.
Yeah, it's a-
So we started somewhere and we should pat ourselves on the back for that, but we, gotta refine it, right?
yeah. I mean, if our target, if we're trying to meet a variety of needs, including very poor cost burden people, then we ought to maybe set aside some units for them and we'll develop.
Well, that would just be an interesting issue to raise with P and Z, saying it's something to look at.
Yeah. That would be
It
a
should be
one-
a certain,
Program review.
That's another point maybe to include in your presentation,
right.
if that's something you feel strongly about, is like, there's a lot of different things you're requiring. 15% set aside. If they're gonna pay a fee in lieu, then look at how to increase that so that it reflects X, is
Right.
what I'm hearing. And perhaps change up the mix so that it's not just for households up earning 80% or less.
And in a way, we have two missions at the same time going on. One is to try to, if the fee in lieu idea to me is a way of bleeding the system for money to build the kind of housing that Eagleville
make it
Green.
worse, bleeding.
All right. Now I like it, bleeding them for resources, requiring them to provide money that for a kind of housing they would never build in a million years, which is like Eagleville Green. And to get that fee in lieu out of them, that kind of hurts us on the other side, because then they don't build all the units that we need built for working people or, middle income families who don't have any place to live either. We don't have enough places to live in general, so there's a conflict there in my mind, but maybe this is a way to make some of the big boys provide a little of the need for the really low cost stuff that's hard for us to provide.
The other issues that are there, Jennifer, on the staff update, I mean, they're here, but did you have anything that?
So I don't, so the use of the 1.7, oh, you are wanting to know, can we actually, would the council be willing to spend that? I think that's a question for the council that we're gonna have to ask them,
We could advise them on give them our opinion on that, right?
right? I mean, you know, maybe they'd feel comfortable using a portion of that,
Well, if I understand it,
like,
the problem with using it tomorrow is that if we use the money and then the Havens doesn't get built and they don't pay the fee, or they've already paid the fee, but it's in the bank, but if they don't get built or something goes wrong, we'd have to give them the money back,
right,
which would then leave us high and dry because we would have already spent the
Right.
money.
Do you have to give it back if they decide to sell it before it's finished?
no.
Okay,
So there's a
Well-
risk to
well-
us.
interesting question.
Yeah, I don't know, actually, that's a good question.
Sometimes a developer is looking at times to sell out quickly.
I know, I would think they would have to pay. That would be part of like,
Get the
Yes,
lawyers
yeah.
out.
yeah, I don't know, that's a good question.
So we don't know what the terms were when they paid it.
So can we just ask for clarity on
Know what
that?
the terms are.
Yeah.
We got,
They may
I
not.
don't think
anticipate
we
that
can go
question.
in and
We gotta-
demand.
Yeah.
No, no.
It's in the bank.
No, we
Right.
can ask for
I think
clarity.
let's just ask for clarity on it.
I mean, there's an advantage if we had a place that needed the money right away, it would be nice if we could give them the
Right.
money right away.
Because
Rather
what
than
I'm
the town
thinking,
would give them
right,
the money right
what I was thinking
I
is
mean, they
that,
might say, well, what do you need the money right now?
away. Well, we'd have to show a need, obviously.
Right, I mean, I don't think we have that right
No, we don't.
well,
now, so
actually,
actually.
well, if we think of the possibility that there's going to be more funding available, and I don't know that that will be the case. There certainly was a lot of action in the legislature, and there's more funding available. And there are opportunities, even Helenco Estates, for rehabbing Helenco Estates and
Right,
adding new units there. And you go to the funders who say, we have this cash in hand. It makes a
Right,
huge difference.
right.
It makes
As a
all the
leverage,
difference,
right,
all the
right.
difference.
Because it shows local
so
commitment.
let's ask for clarity on
Right,
when that can be available.
Well,
Yeah.
So we can.
How they
it's,
persist the
it's,
risk.
how are they gonna, so I'm gonna, it will be staff that will develop the policy for them. So like, what is their policy gonna be for spending this money? When are they gonna feel comfortable? So we're gonna
Right.
need to do a little research on that.
Right,
yeah,
So,
right.
because we're in this, because yeah, otherwise it's gonna be pushed down, I think, because
Right,
on the
right.
priority list, because I don't know that it's,
Yeah.
well, is that a question for the town attorney?
I think the town attorney they'll want the town attorney to weigh in, but ultimately the expenditure of funds, like. If it says that it has to be turned back, the town attorney would probably say, no, I would advise you, that's a risk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are they zero risk or are they 25% risk or are they?
Yeah, and like, do we
75%?
do it after, like, for example, the foundation is poured for building one. So,
Is it really?
yeah,
Wow.
so do we do it after, can we collect it after they go vertical? You know what I mean? Certain things, like, there's different things. that
We've
can
already
happen.
collected all of it, right?
Right, can we spend it
Yeah.
after? Yeah, and then what percentage do we spend it at? So that's a
Right.
policy that is not like,
And if we have to give it back to them, would we be giving it all back or some of it back? Or, how would that play out?
yeah,
That's where the lawyers.
I don't know why we said
It's
we
all
give it
quite
back.
theoretical. This is gonna be built.
Yes, it's gonna be.
Yes, and that's in practice, that's why I think it's not a big deal to spend the
Right.
money. because
Well,
There isn't that much. risk.
Maybe,
We
and maybe you
request-
just change the regulation and say we're not giving it back. Because
Yeah.
we have the check in hand,
You can't change it on them, though. They've
Yeah.
already.
correct?
done that.
We can't change
You
it.
can't say that's.
No, we
Yeah.
can't change it to the standard, but moving forward, you
Yeah.
can say we're not gonna
It's
give it
not
back.
refundable. Yeah.
But that, I don't know how
As
that's,
long as I would say that once the project construction is initiated, something like that. Because
Once-
it's possible,
right, we make that clear, like, as soon as you go vertical, because that's when we, like, that's a trigger in the zoning regs. When
Oh,
you go vertical, you have to submit an as-built and we have to go do it and
oh, that's
inspect it.
interesting.
So
Okay.
like as soon as you go
Okay,
vertical,
it's tied to the regs, okay. Um, Okay, I was gonna say
That's
something.
another
else,
issue to
okay.
explore.
All right, so.
you guys are
What?
very
Yes,
good.
go ahead.
You're great. You have a lot of energy.
Um. It's exhausting at times, but the affordable, so this was one of the issues that also was raised about, that Paul, I think Paul or Michael raised, I don't remember who.
I don't think I raised it.
But it was,
I'm good at raising and.
this is the statute that, I don't think it applies here, because I think the statute you sent out, or the regulation applied to set aside units at 60% of fair market value, but the issue that Paul raised was, do these set aside units, can they exceed what is basically the section 8 fair market rent?
Right, when you do the big calculation that's spelled out in our code.
Yeah.
You wind up with a number that's actually higher than, potentially higher than the fair market rent. So that doesn't work, but then I found a section of the state statute that says, if that is the case, if you do this calculation and it's off by, it's too much, then the rent of that unit can't exceed the section 8 maximum price
But it's-
that's already
That's-
set.
The issue is, what does it apply to?
Yes,
And that I wasn't clear. Do you want us to find that again?
that sounds like a lawyer question.
That might be Michael Santoro too, that might be.
Yeah,
I sent, I don't have the email in front
Yeah,
of me.
you
but-
have it, right?
But you have the
you want me to
actual
send it
text
again?
of that passage from the law.
yeah. If you could resend it, maybe you and I should talk to Mike Centura together. That way,
Yeah, and I've already talked to him. I'd be happy to do that again.
why don't we have like, that way stuff doesn't get lost in the
Okay.
translation and then
Okay.
you can track that and we can get that on the
Okay.
books.
Yeah, why don't you resend that, Paul?
Okay. I can't, I lost lost
I
the
think I
password to
have
my
it.
email.
I have,
can't do it
I
right
have
now.
everything that.
Hold on, look.
File, but,
This computer, I have two computers. This one doesn't have my
All
password.
saved, yeah.
Phil, if I may check my settings to see what my password.
I probably have it on my emails. Find it.
okay,
So I did not do enough research
No.
for you and
it's all right.
We don't have enough to
You're a
do.
little bit busy.
Keep track of all of our multitude of questions.
That's right.
And two other boards and Rooster.
Well, now we know you, I'm gonna call you all the time with rooster questions.
not me, Jolene,
You're like, not me.
please. And she'll,
Okay, here's.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm just gonna move on to the. Actually, we've already talked about A. But for B, this was, what Paul had sent us, was in the packet. Do you want to talk about it, Paul?
This one on reaching,
Yeah. Oh, by the way.
I found this
Found it.
fascinating. It actually, like, I was like, you're right.
Like my math there. huh?
Well-
You did. It was very helpful. I don't know if everyone had a chance to read it.
Yeah, except
I
that.
checked his math and it's correct.
Yeah, that's good, but it makes the
Like, I'm
assumption
glad
that the
they all
way
get it.
we're gonna get the affordable units is only through the set asides. So,
No, it doesn't make that assumption, but it's a hypothetical
Right.
Yeah, it's
situation. I
just
want
saying
you,
for
I'm trying to
numbers.
understand the scale of the
Yes.
problem. I mean, if we're trying to reach a 10% housing percentage, what do we, what does that mean? Like, do I have to
Yeah.
climb a mountain or swim a lake or what? And I was trying to get my brain around the size of the mission and how many more units we need. And if we can only get them from
From
set
the
asides, we're
units.
gonna a lot of building
Yeah,
around.
Right.
that's a lot. of
And it
work.
tells me that we need other strategies,
right.
other
exactly,
things to do
exactly.
Yes.
that will bring numbers in faster
Yeah.
without inflating the population of the
Yeah.
town to something we can't support.
So I have another data point to add to this. If all we do is affordable housing, to get to 10%, we need to add 247 units.
That's only one building.
I
We looked
know,
at it
but we
that
gotta
way.
Down the
build
street.
it. We gotta build that.
We don't want to build Cabrini Green, that's,
That's a large number. You look at,
Yeah,
But you.
it's not as big as the Havens.
That's not so, but that's not, it wouldn't be just one project.
Right.
Let's just say if the housing authority goes ahead and can develop, you know,
I'm not
additional
gonna-
units at, on Helenco Estates and maybe they do another 40 units. And we have someone else who comes in with a really nice mixed income, age restricted housing development for 50 to 75 units.
Or
I
we
mean,
convert some homes, some private homes to,
but it says we have to come up with a cost-effective way to do
Yes.
these independent of the developers.
Yes.
And
That's-
so you can go both ways and you say, well, we don't want the fee in lieu, but now we're saying we want the fee in
Well,
lieu
that's-
so we can
yeah,
build.
that's the
But
conflict I was talking
the
about before. because we
developers-
need- The fee in lieu is gonna pay for all those things that
Right.
developers don't wanna do.
But the
It'll help
developers
leverage
are
the
still
leverage.
going to be building these units, which is gonna keep driving that base up
That's
that we
right.
gotta
Yeah.
hit the
That's
10%
right, that's why
of.
15% went into effect,
Mhm.
but maybe we ought to be 20.
all right,
Well,
so.
Well, I
If I'm
think
not
that's-
mistaken,
But we definitely
the
have
work,
to increase.
the work,
fee.
live, ride law, or is it 830G, talks about 30% set aside.
830G does.
830 talks about 30%, right?
Right, but I mean, like, if an 830G comes in, we have no zoning
Oh,
control.
I understand. That's why we're trying to achieve 10%,
Exactly.
so that we don't have to worry about that
Yeah.
anymore.
So I have
It
a
happened
question,
tomorrow.
when do we have to hit 10% according to the state?
Yeah,
What's the date they have on paper? Do they have?
Well,
one?
it's not like, I mean, there is an opportunity
There
to
is an
apply for a moratorium on 830G if you're making significant progress. And I don't think,
We can argue that. think
but I don't,
we're-
again, that's an application process, and maybe it's something to talk with, another thing to talk to Mike Santoro about. Is like, the optics, so you have to be careful, right? Because we're a town that is really pushing this affordable housing
Yes.
thing.
Right.
You,
Right, we are.
I've
far
gone
more
to
than
conferences and
anyone.
they're like, oh, we don't even,
What
it's gonna
plan?
come up.
I know. Well,
Doesn't come up.
Holland would be a good example. They don't have anything.
Yeah,
Zero.
so they're like, wow,
Glass
this is, that's really
That's very
interesting that you're doing that.
simplified.
So we're pushing ahead, but we're also we are having a lot of development. So I
Right.
think the optics of, and we want to control the types of development that we have. And so
Right.
while the optics of us saying, no, we want a moratorium, I think we could, on the other side of the coin, argue that we're doing all this other stuff that really is,
Well, there's not a deadline that we have to meet, as long as we're making progress.
no,
The
that
issue is really if somebody,
comes in.
what would be the issue? A developer comes in and says, I'm gonna build 50 units of housing and I'm gonna make 5 of them affordable and you have to approve it?
Well, 30% has to be
30%.
from 17, then we have to approve it. And it can be as high as they want. They don't have to look at traffic congestion. It's a bare minimal.
But it's very unlikely because people aren't, 30% is really taking. it.
Well,
But
it's
likely
happening.
Anywhere it would be.
It's just happening
likely
in
this
Glastonbury.
town Where we have a university that they can feed off of and get,
And
And
you
get
have an opportunity zone.
yeah.
So it shouldn't
That's
make sense.
why I'm pushing, in theory, to get to the 10%. We have our own control then. We can, play our own game and do it right.
Because the 830G is, I don't think anyone wants 830G. I don't think the developers want it. I don't think the towns want it because, you're talking architectural standards, you're talking traffic and parking and landscaping and pedestrian friendliness and electric charging stations and all of the other things that are making a place attractive to live. Of course, they're going to get 70% are going to be market rate, but still, it's just,
Well, and the reason that there is an 830G is that we're one of the most segregated
That's correct,
and one of the least affordable states in the country.
right,
right,
because we haven't done the right thing over time.
No.
Yeah, so.
right.
it has to-
But
something
these
has to
numbers
settle.
are scary.
So this is like it's
Well, if
830G
it's
is a,
done this way.
Right, but still.
So-
It's done this way. I don't see.
I mean, in my hometown, my hometown is really bad, and they're doing a
Where's that? Jen?
Massachusetts, and it's
Oh.
at 40B. So it's happening in all states, these,
They're having this struggle in Massachusetts too. I think I happened to flip through the Spectrum News, you know, that they foist on us about Chicopee and stuff. And there was I don't know if it was a Sunday morning or something, there were people talking about these exact issues about building affordable housing in, I don't know, some towns or somewhere. And they have all the same words that we hear in these meetings, they were talking about on this.
it's the
panel.
same, yeah, it's, there's just 40B. Ours is A30.
So one of the things in our plan recommendations, and first off, I said it in the beginning, our website's beautiful, with how it rotates through our. Is that you? I love it. Great job. It's very, very nice. But right, one of our plan recommendations is enable middle housing through changes to the zoning regulations, but create a middle housing floating zone, right?
In which we're working.
So I think this is what that gets at, kind of that pot in the middle, right?
Yeah,
That
well,
there's-
middle housing is also
Right,
very
like-
appropriate for our
Yeah,
neck of the woods because it's not too high and it's not too, you know.
And it would be great for age restricted housing because you've got this huge demand for people who want market rate, age restricted, as well as this huge need for people who need to have subsidized.
So that's an
That's it.
interesting thing that the Planning and Zoning Commission is really wrestling with. And that is, what is middle housing in Mansfield? Okay, so if you look at that diagram, right?
Yeah.
And maybe we could show it to the,
Got
The group.
fourplexes and-
Yes, it's-
Yeah, that's the
But
only image in Connecticut. of what
yeah,
middle
you
housing
see all this stuff. So But
That
middle
is a lot-
housing-
Getting a lot of,
middle housing is everything from like the
Like two family
like
is a
STEM,
small.
well,
and-
I would say the
Or an
STEM
accelerated-
dorm on
Yeah.
UConn campus
Yeah.
would be like really intense, right? All we're getting in Mansfield is really this. And I think we even want this. We didn't even have small lot, single family. So I
Yeah.
think when people think of middle housing in Mansfield, they think of small lot, single family, and they
Yeah.
think of like one or two families,
like an accelerator.
because we have none of that. We have a ton of multifamily housing for a town of our size.
Yeah.
And then we're getting really dense multifamily housing. We have underdeveloped multifamily housing in the older buildings. And then we have these large lot, single family homes. We have nothing. We don't have a tribe. We don't have small lot, single family homes except for
Which-
maybe Circle Drive.
And when I back out and look from the moon at this town, I wonder, where do we have the infrastructure to do small lot?
Yes, that's,
Single
so
family.
that's
Where do
what I was thinking about.
Where-
when-
Well-
You know, we don't even know where all of our infrastructure possibilities are. You do probably, but we don't.
So you know, you would have to do, there are places, you know, you'd have to do different things like a community septic
I was
system.
just gonna
A
say
community
that.
well.
Years ago, we tried to get planning and zoning.
It's not planning and zoning, it's the Department of Health. You
No,
can't
but years ago, the planning and zoning was totally opposed to it,
really, yeah.
before you came.
But I mean, now in theory, the state wants to make infrastructure available to the outlying communities, the smaller communities. In theory, that's what they're talking about, at state capital, about infrastructure money. Which
You can do community wells, you can do,
Yeah.
particularly when you have a good aquifer, you can do.
Chris Murphy was talking
Community
about
septic
infrastructure money
systems.
the other day.
yeah, yeah.
All
So
right,
this-
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
So this falls underneath us, though, or that
The
we
middle
should,
house.
we
No,
should be
I-
talking to zoning,
I think,
because it's
I
part
mean,
of the affordable.
need-
housing.
they're already on it.
Okay,
We need to inform ourselves, though. I think.
Yeah, they're on it. There's a ton of, just you can Google
Yeah.
AARP middle house,
Yeah.
missing middle housing, but remember, we don't live in San Francisco. Okay, so like missing middle housing there is probably like the standard almost, or
Right, yeah.
stores that, you know, maybe, so I think it's a real paradigm shift and that's what happened when that zone, the landing of the mixed use center transitional zone
Yeah.
got denied by Timber Drive,
yes.
is that the developers came in and they wrote us this beautiful reg. And I was excited about this reg. It's a beautiful regulation. It's just, it doesn't belong, well, the neighbors and the Planning and Zoning Commission decided that it didn't belong next to Timber Drive.
Yeah, it's too sharp a transition from single family.
Exactly.
to-
So
Oh,
those are the
definitely.
things you kind of have to, so now that diagram is being thrown, like, we don't want that. We don't want that here in
We want some
Mansfield. They,
transition
you know,
to
maybe
it.
we want like the pretty pictures that you've seen in our POCD with the cottage style
Yeah,
housing with the lighting coming through and, you know, but.
kind of like behind Store Center, how they have those.
Grandma with her flower garden.
Townhouse.
So I think this is what we can use the housing trust to address.
Yeah.
So we can use that theory around being concerned about having to build so many units to get up to that number, to really craft kind of and assist all of those other ideas to bubble out.
Well,
And if we could find places to put those
Right?
kinds of.
I think in theory, I'd love to see that because I think we don't have, there's no incentive to build build middle housing.
So let's,
None.
we have to, I'm gonna move us, because we've got to talk
Yeah.
about the priorities. If we're gonna talk
Oh.
about housing to P and Z, but I think we need to have a work session or a special session. I'd actually thought we could do it June 1st, but we won't take time to get first. On middle housing, I mean, I think we really, so that we can be informed and, you know, but so the.
But we did have the very first meeting, she did a the ARP lady. Sent us.
That,
information.
yes, the woman that came, yes.
And I
um,
think you shared that with us too.
Hang on a minute. Okay, so we should all go back and take a look at that. But on, this is what we presented the May 2nd meeting. I just try to summarize what was in the P and Z affordable housing requirements. If I got that right, I was reading, Jennifer took that out of that section.
Yep.
That was when it was 10% of all units, but oh no, that was about the goal for the town, at least 10%. Looking at our priorities, I tried to take some of what we discussed, and then I added a couple of things, so for your consideration. We haven't, what you were talking about, Paul, the targeting people with incomes that are below 60% of median income. And that most developments, including those done by nonprofits, are now mixed income because they can't afford to just do
Right.
a lower income. And
It's
they
not good
also,
to group all low income people together.
and that's right, and they don't want to do that either. And have people say, oh, that's with a low income.
Right, and you're right off the whole place.
Mansfield Connection, there's already been those comments.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about targeting people at risk of homelessness. At some point, it might be good to have Avery Lenhart come and speak with us from Project No Freeze, because that's a huge issue for them. I won't get into the whole system of trying to prevent homelessness, but we've talked about age-restricted housing. We seem to agree with that. What Will's brought up. We seem to agree with families with children. We want to make a priority. We haven't talked about accessible units for people with disabilities that often can go along with age-restricted housing for people over 65. And then I'm suggesting that the Mansfield Housing Authority, as the town's arm for housing by statute, I mean, it's that it be given priority for funding if they meet any of the above criteria.
Well, what about the possibility of using housing trust funds to convert homes, single family homes?
Well, this is down here.
Okay, never
Keep
mind.
going. I try to take this, I tried to take most of this out of the plan, affordable housing plan. Purchasing land in the individual homes, see Mansfield Board.
I see it. I'm sorry.
And so the issue there with individual homes, if we would require that deed restriction. Now, so we have CDBG, and at some point, Dorothy, whether we ask the main director that we need to also get some information, or maybe I can just get it directly with the social services. So we understand fully what social services does related to CDBG and to other housing
The available
needs.
program, that's Dorothy's bailiwick, but.
Mhm.
I mean, Dorothy's our certified.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of CDBG, and there's a whole slew of programs that Human Services
right,
has
and
available to
we
people.
put that off, or I did, at least in my mind, because we don't have the new director, or Dorothy could have told us, but. So I mean, some of this we have to obviously talk about, and some of the issues. Loans were raised, I don't know, we have to really figure that out. And if the conditions for the loan and grant are not met, required payback. Did you have it there?
Yeah, I was just
Okay.
looking for, we had a chart of people. That was just different.
And then the issue again about people already on waiting lists, so.
I think you could maybe address some of those issues by, because the loan thing is that's hard to figure that out, right?
Well,
So,
we don't have to do that now,
but in the but in the priorities, it's almost like you would consider that, and then you would, with the given project, you would kind of work out the details if that came to you. You know what I mean?
So for example, I think it was Stamford or Fairfield. I think they give loans. And I don't even know if they're giving grants or if it's a loan to the project. And it wasn't clear to me that it's forgiven after a certain number of years so let's say after 20 years, it's been effective loans or a certain amount is forgiven each year. Or
It's not
are we
like a
giving
housing-
grants?
The housing rehab program where we give a 0% loan, and then if it's sold,
Okay. there you go.
then we lien the property. We allow them to do certain renovations on their home, and then we lien the property. When they sell it, then they have to pay us back, but
The
it's
lien
0%.
is paid, yeah.
Yeah. And that's administered through CDBG. And then be interesting to see if CDBG does. Right now, we're not eligible to apply for a new grant because we have so much money in that fund, but in the future, if
In the CDBG fund?
Dorothy can explain. I can.
Yeah, it's complicated. So so currently we have a grant for a fire truck that we have not spent. And because we have not spent that money yet, that makes us ineligible as well as the PI that we have. So,
The principal and interest, though.
yeah,
No program income.
yeah, program income.
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe I'm just again thinking for the purposes, I'm not saying we should pass this out to planning and zoning, but maybe just for the purposes of, for planning and zoning, do we want to talk about what we're working on with the Housing Trust Fund and what some of our priorities are? I don't know whether you would agree with all of these, or we don't have to.
I think you could do high level, because again, they're not the ones that are involved. They're like, you're like, thank you for having this fee in lieu. The town council and the Affordable Housing Committee are the ones who are determining how this gets spent.
Yeah,
They're just regulating. So you can say,
okay.
we are going to be working to fulfill the goals of the affordable housing plan. And we've kind of drilled down and done X, Y, and Z. But I don't know that you need to get too much in the
Right,
details.
because the plan, ultimately, the planning board, planning and zoning board kind of sets the environment. And then the town council is our conduit for all this
How we're spending the money.
funding, loans and all that stuff. That goes to,
Right.
we're talking to two separate political
Yeah.
entities.
And that's true. And
actually.
the priorities we would have to recommend to the council.
Yeah,
Right. So that they're going to want to know that you've been really, and you should be really proud of what you're doing and tell them, and they'll be excited to hear and to understand what this fee in lieu that they're making people pay is possibly funded.
Right.
yeah, where we want it to go.
I think it would be helpful in the priorities to maybe to have language that gets at that we will look at this, our affordable housing on a yearly basis and set priorities, right? Because we've
Yeah.
talked about like maybe a senior housing project goes in and then, but then we see like, wow, we need something over
As
here.
more and more housing
Yeah.
is built, our demands, our needs are
Are
gonna
gonna
change
change,
depending on
yeah.
which ones we can satisfy at which
Yeah,
time.
so,
So, but developing these priorities and getting them approved is a lot of work.
yeah,
So you want them to be flexible enough so that if a project in 6 months
comes
comes before you, that is gonna be creating 75 units of affordable housing or a mixed income property that you're, because that's a slam dunk.
Right.
yeah,
Right.
Like you're gonna, I mean, you're gonna, if this committee doesn't wanna endorse that, you're gonna, the council's gonna be like,
What's the matter with you?
what's wrong with you? So, you know, there hopefully will be some low hanging fruit that you're gonna wanna seize on. And then the complicated things will probably come a little bit later, once you've
There's
done a
more
few
later.
of these things.
yeah.
Yeah, so my advice is flexibility, flexibility, flexibility.
Okay, anything, we're sort of exceeding our time here.
Yeah, I mean, and I think we might capture it, but remember when we got all the numbers about the demographics? Like,
Right.
so, and we looked at like even just the numbers of, so households under 25, 25 to 44, 45 to 65, but the largest number of folks that we had were 25 to 44 years old. There's 678 that were under 30,000, which might actually, but which might actually get caught up with folks that have disabilities or,
Families
Um,
with children.
yeah, like that
It's a big
that
one.
could be in there,
It's a
right?
big
Like,
Part of the homeless population.
yeah. Yeah, it was just when I was thinking of that, because I think we do a nice job of making it a priority because the other two pockets are half that size.
Anecdotally, I hear a lot of Mansfield Community Connections about like a parent who's saying, I want my kids to be in the Mansfield school system.
Yeah.
And I only have, X amount of money to spend a month,
Yes.
and we can't find a place to live
You see
within
that
the
a
district.
lot.
That's like a very common
Right.
thing, and that's
Why
part of-
we have the demographics
Yeah.
that we do.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing in the middle.
Yes, that's why I'm like, but the middle
So
piece
that's,
would help.
so clearly that's an objective that we have to make places for the people who want to have families here. And
I hear a lot. Well, Will's not here. Where's Will?
He's on a cruise.
Oh, that's
That's
right.
right.
But, you know, Will talks about the lack of
Right.
affordable senior housing, but I'd be interested to know the income that of seniors in our town.
Well, that we have.
I'm a senior.
We do.
We do, that's this, yeah.
So in how, what is their,
I mean, there's my chicken scratch because I was doing numbers. but-
and
Yeah, I think about this a lot because we were able to move to Mansfield because of Circle Drive. We got a house there for 150. The houses now are 269,
Right.
right? So
That's
if
an
you-
inexpensive house.
Yeah, and that's 900 square feet, right? So it's just like that whole middle housing piece for everybody, for every age
Right.
group, right? Like it helps people age in place, it helps people, families.
You know what I think about when I think about this kind of that problem? On Route 89, north of the reservoir, just beyond, is it, what's the name of it? Juniper,
Yeah.
where the bridge goes over. If you go straight there, there's a series of houses, single family, very cracker boxy kind of houses that were built, I got in the 1990s or something. Some money came in somewhere and they built this row of single family homes. They were very plain, they were very stripped down, minimal, small lots. And over time, people have added on to them and expanded them, but that's what I think about.
Maple Road too.
Yeah, when we think of
That's
middle
a-
housing, right? Like,
Yeah, we're a home where families can come and put down their roots and grow up and, develop the property.
Maple Road, there were 1% farmers home houses built by Northeastern Connecticut Community Development Corporation. That was,
Nobody wants to build that.
and
stuff.
they, that they were a nonprofit I was involved with, and I was so glad they came to Mansfield. I don't know how many they built, maybe 8. Right along Maple, there, people have added to them, and
No, but I'm guessing that the houses are really nine have their own septic system. They don't have any infrastructure there.
yeah.
no, yeah,
Right.
most.
And that's
So I
what you
guess-
sort of need if you want to develop.
and we're gonna
I
see.
can tell you about Rolling Hills. Rolling Hills, when I first moved in, you could get, and I'm in a 1975 mobile home, can't call it a trailer, mobile home. And I paid over 40,000 for it. And a lot of them go, that's one of the cheapest ones now. Now they're going for over 100,000,
One,
up to 120,000 for the new ones, the double wides. They've got a couple of double wides, which aren't really, they're manufactured housing. They're not mobile homes,
Right.
but they do have some single wides in here too. And so even for seniors coming into an over 55 community, they've got to have, they got to have some money or be able to get a loan.
And if nobody's, you guys haven't been to Rolling Hills, it's a beautiful place.
Yes, it is.
I used to love to campaign for the town council there many, many years ago when I was on the council.
my husband was,
You can't anymore.
Anymore? You can't knock on doors?
No solicitation of any kind.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm not running again, so that's okay.
Okay.
Oh, well.
Yeah. Okay, is there anything, I'll tell you. I know we've done a lot of work by the time I go home. Okay, the rest of these were all, thanks to Gina, who's gonna do that monthly summary now for. I enclosed a little blurb that I wrote. She'll do the monthly summary for the Mansfield newsletter. and-
Yeah.
Oh, there might have been a mistake in that. Where's the text for that?
Oh, I only sent it to Sheila and
I saw it.
yes, I'm gonna put that in my town manager's report.
Which one?
The
The
little blurb that.
one that I sent, that one that already went in.
Oh, did it go in already? Because there was a,
Oh, but did I make a
Was there a typo?
no, it was a conceptual of, maybe I only read it quickly, but I thought you were attributing something to someone, the wrong person. Maybe I should just shut up about it since it's already out the door.
I don't think it had any names on it.
No, it wasn't, I'm explaining it poorly.
Oh.
I didn't print out everything, so I don't know.
Where can I find a copy of it quickly?
Let's see if I can.
I saw it somewhere. Where did I see it?
It was in the packet,
Okay, then I just gotta find it.
so it was.
Oh,
in-
here it's, I got, wait a minute, hang on.
Oh.
Scroll down. It was a little blurb you wrote, right? AH Town Manager's Newsletter. There it is. I got it. Stand by. Let me see if I can.
I don't think it was yours, Gene, I think it was.
I didn't take any notes tonight, but she's the agenda.
The first major apartment development that was approved under these new regulations, meaning the Havens, was not approved under the 15% rule, is approved under the 10% rule.
That's true.
Did I write that?
Well, it says you said, you were talking about the new 15%
Let me see
limit.
if it was.
I'm like, I don't even remember. Where are we?
No, I think, no, this is the one that I wrote, so. The
Oh, yeah. I didn't do
recently
that one.
increased from 10%.
Right.
Any new apartment development must provide, it was right.
So the way she.
Oh,
phrased
so I
it,
know that was,
Jennifer, is
that
good
was-
for the next.
it
one.
was miss.
So
I knew it
so
wasn't
that- I'm gonna
short,
put
but I
this
missed-
in. I'm gonna.
The
put
phrasing
it-
is
So that
Phrasing-
would be
phrasing
for
might be my
tomorrow, I'm
mistake.
For
gonna-
May.
Well, I'm gonna put it in Monday's town manager's report, and then we only do it every other month. For the town newsletter.
Gotcha. So like the next one will be like, hey, we went and talked to zoning,
Yeah.
would be more like we talked about the regulations.
And really, you wanna punch these up, like, yeah, like.
Like,
so,
we're
like
great.
talk-
I was
Park-
just
Parks and Rec
pop,
talk.
Is the,
Yes, I can
is
do
the
that.
Havens the first one that was approved with any set aside?
Yeah, it's the only one.
So that's the structure here makes it sound like the Havens got in on 15%, but it did get in. It was the first major
didn't
one
write
to have
It
any
was
set
just-
aside.
It was misplaced.
You're right,
Yeah.
that's fine.
The sentence
No,
was
I wrote a
misplaced,
different
yes.
one.
I edited it though. I edited
I don't know.
that, Sheila.
Did you?
Because some
Okay.
of the stuff I had already told the council, I report to the town manager
Okay,
and I'd already reported
Okay.
some of that stuff, so I changed some of
Okay.
it,
okay.
Fine.
but,
That was all I saw. I was afraid that we didn't want to misinform someone. Thankfully.
So
they
do you
didn't make
want me to read out loud my update? The Affordable Housing Committee held 2 meetings in April in which the group reviewed and discussed a draft version of the Mansfield Housing Trust Fund application and a letter to the Planning and Zoning Commission. The group also discussed, reviewed, and approved a letter to the Zoning Commission what was it, the commission, requesting
Yeah.
a review of the guidelines of the fee in lieu of structure and strongly recommended that only in exceptional circumstances should developers have the requirement for building affordable housing waived. Given the amount of development currently being proposed and the need to ensure the town has created the foundation to meet its affordable housing goals, the group agreed to meet bi-weekly moving forward to expedite this work. It's great.
I would say that you're not waiving the entire requirement for building affordable housing. We're charging a fee.
I just said to review the guidelines.
Okay,
Yes.
Yeah,
no, deeper.
here,
Sorry.
I didn't
The
I didn't
editor
s-
Gene is kicking
I didn't
in.
send this
Yeah,
to
you
you.
should, can you send it to Paul, and Paul, can you edit it if you don't mind?
Great.
And then Paul, you edit
Oh,
it.
that's
but,
okay?
You're just, no, you're gonna send it to Paul, you're not gonna talk about it, and Paul's just gonna send it to me, if that's
And
okay.
then- and then
And I'll-
the edit. like,
yeah, is that
you did.
okay?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you good with that?
Oh, yeah, I'm fine.
It only
Because I
goes
gotta
out-
I've gotta I gotta give it to Ryan no later than Monday morning.
I'll have it. I'll do it
Again next
tomorrow.
Oh,
week.
so I can send him this.
Yeah,
Kylie, I'm gonna try to get you something by Monday.
Okay.
Because then we're meeting on the 11th.
and
Really tough.
it's a special meeting.
Who are you?
So I can go
Thoughts?
A PS odd
24
socks.
hours in advance,
What's-
right?
what's
PS
For a
odd
special meeting, it's
socks.
24,
O
yeah.
D D S O C
Oh, yeah,
K.
yeah.
But we can,
It's got your picture.
we can just post
So I have
the
to,
agenda and we can upload the presentation.
okay,
So, and the only thing you're having on that agenda
So moving
is
forward, I'll do that.
the presentation to the
Okay, I'm
planning
glad that
commission.
editing
Yes.
worked.
And I
Yeah.
do need
Thank
to
you.
check with
Like
the
I did
chair to make sure he's
95
willing
other
to
people.
have a meeting with just one.
okay.
It's putting
So-
a
and he's
shadow
in-
right.
He's at the
somewhere.
coronation.
That's it. And
so
I'm like,
he'll
I
be
don't know,
there.
Is he
I'm just, I get it on the paper.
Told me,
I
yeah.
get the thought now.
I have question.
I wish we would know that, because I don't want to break my neck, if we're not gonna meet with them. officially.
Well, I don't know. I can let you know are you doing it over the weekend?
I have to do it Sunday, yeah.
I can
Sunday and
text
Monday
him.
morning, what?
I can text him. so-
Yeah,
Can we close the meeting?
I have a quick issue, Ray.
Yes.
So if you look at the notes for the meeting with Chris Murphy, the first bullet, Beth Sevilla, she's director of CHIO. She wants to meet with this group when they're here in June. So they're doing their June meeting at Eastern. And
Is
she
that the one that
said,
you and I met, who was in charge of that?
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah, so I saw her at the Chris Murphy event and they're doing their June meeting at Eastern, and she said,
I think I. put it-
aside from that meeting, she'd like to meet with us, so.
Do you think we should pull in some of the, get
Council.
the mayor and
Yes,
town, I think that,
no, I think so, because we do not have authority, they do.
and I think
They're a center, they. I don't know.
I don't know, it's up to you. I need to have a little bit more context, but I
We
think,
can't speak for
it's-
the town.
well, they can't
Right,
either
that's- so
individually.
That's right. That's why I
mean,
raised
they-
it, because I
they-
don't wanna,
but
we could just
it's
meet her for
amazing-
coffee, but then there's official.
Well, it's sort of
protocol
an
that we have to
informational
follow.
meeting, right? Isn't that what you would call
Yeah,
it?
and
It's a discussion to discuss how we're gonna work together.
Well,
oh,
I think anytime we're meeting with someone that has to do with a senator, you wanna.
I
ask
do
any of
think
your
so.
politics.
I think
This
that's
isn't the
polite.
senator person, this is
She's not the,
she's the head of that,
she's the
that-
director of the
Right.
new center.
Right,
yeah.
oh, okay.
It's CHIO is the new center. It's
What if the center
established.
come to a meeting?
She's the former mayor of
Yeah.
Waterford,
But-
actually.
I think I know her, actually.
Could we, can we
She's a
just have her
lawyer.
come to a meeting? I mean, is she
So I don't know
local?
if timing will work out. So she's saying they're gonna schedule their meeting at Eastern
Oh,
and it's Thursday, whatever, Thursday at 5. She's like, can you guys meet me for lunch that day? That day.
Oh, okay.
That's how she wants to do it.
That's already scheduled, isn't it? Because I think I have it.
I haven't seen it, but I haven't looked for it either.
Can you send, look,
Here it
there's
is.
so many emails. I keep
CH
telling people to send me emails.
CHIO at Eastern Breakfast. It's like
That's
Tuesday,
why I'm
June
like,
6th.
I don't want anything more via email.
Six.
I'm
Right.
Yeah.
pushing everything,
How
like,
do they invite us?
It's
because
a
when you get
breakfast
so
breakfast.
much, you start to like,
And then you try to
Oh,
prioritize.
it's a
then
breakfast.
you
And then you
Well,
very
that's
much
what it
by
says.
accident,
So
and you're
Eastern's
like, oh, wait.
providing the breakfast.
So they have a June 6th breakfast meeting. That's the official CHIO meeting. I think they go by CHIO.
Should we be attending that? I mean,
I
Yeah,
have
yeah,
it
yeah,
down
definitely.
What
to
is
go.
CHIO?
anybody,
It's
it's a pretty
the
interesting.
Committee on Housing
Yeah.
and Equal Opportunity or something like that.
Well, they have these 4 working groups, remember?
Yes,
And
but this won't be that, right?
So I'm really conscious,
Uh,
we could continue. to
no, I
talk
think it's
after
a
the-
general.
I'm
regular
conscious of
meeting.
Dorothy's time too.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, why don't we motion it?
So is there a motion to adjourn?
I move it.
I second it.
Oh, and did you any,
I
okay, all
did
in
it fast for
favor?
you.
Aye.
You don't even need a second. to motion to adjourn, but- Okay, so Dorothy, we're done. Okay,
Thank
Can I
you.
ask you a-
Thank you.
thank
She's
you.
gonna have
Let's,
therapy on her wrists.
I'll shut down the meeting. Oh, and
So, I don't even.
I can't-
have it on my
I can't
calendar.
either.
Sorry.
He doesn't mess around.